Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well today. Feel free to say hi in the chat if you can hear me and if you can type in chat. There we go. Hello, everybody. We appreciate you all being here. Using my southern voice here. Let's see. Hector will be right back. He just has a little bit of stuff to get started on, so I will be the one who is starting this webinar today. Apparently, okay, fair enough. Oh, me. Hello. Okay. Let me go ahead and get the slides to share with everybody. You will be able to see that in the chat. I think that I probably should put that in a better spot, but I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay. Hello, everybody, to the bi-monthly webinar for RightTool for version 1.22. We are going to have a pretty packed one today, so it'll be a fun time. First of all, let's talk about RightTool updates. The last webinar video update was on February 12th. That was the last of these because, again, we used to do these on a monthly basis. Now we're doing it on a bi-monthly basis just to kind of QuickBooks is making a lot of changes right now, so we are spending a lot of time fixing things as they come up rather than making new stuff. So we need a little bit more time in between. Oh, you need access to the slides. 1 second. Let me go ahead and just do that real quick.
I'll take care of that. I'll take care of
Okay.
that. You can keep going. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. We had a bonus episode in March for reallocating from the P&L. And by the way, there will be a recording of this. We had a feature on reallocate from P&L. It's a whole video on YouTube. If you are interested in it, you should definitely go check it out. It has basically everything you need to know in there. And then finally, we put out new feature updates on YouTube because, as you know, we put the videos inside of our settings area inside of RightTool. So every time we have a new feature, we put out an update on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, smash the subscribe button, hit like, all that stuff. If you want to stay up to date with things without having to kind of like always go into these webinars to figure out what the newest things are. We have recently created a RightTool 101 tutorial on YouTube as well. That is very in-depth. So if you're somebody who likes longer videos, feel free to go and check this one out. If you're somebody who likes the shorter videos, we do have videos for that as well on the website or on YouTube. So just be aware that's available to you.
Just worth mentioning, we recorded that one 3 months ago, and there's a lot of new things added 3 months. So like every couple of months, we'll update and do a brand new 101 video that will cover the basic stuff and then some of the highlights from some of the newer stuff.
Yeah, there's honestly a lot of videos I probably need to go back to, even if it's just for the fact that we've changed a lot of things from pro to free and so on and so forth, that we probably need to go back and redo the videos on. But that's
Yeah.
okay. I'll probably do spend a whole week doing that sometime.
All right, so table of contents is up really quick. We're gonna do a couple of quick news of things that are going on in QuickBooks Online. We're gonna do a quick reminder of like always update your Chrome and always update RightTool. Particularly this morning, I had a Chrome update and my RightTool was not working correctly, and sometimes I forget that I need to update my Google Chrome as well because the security settings in Google Chrome sometimes lock out certain extensions from doing things. So you have to make sure you're always on the latest version of Google Chrome, and we'll have some slides on that. Then we want to highlight a couple of features that we have already released prior to now. Actually, I'm gonna take host if you don't mind, so I can
yeah, no worries.
control this thing here. Can you just double check that you can see my screen correctly?
It is, yeah, now I can see it.
Okay, so we're gonna highlight 3 existing features: scripts, amount search, and bulk enter entries in register. We're just gonna remind you of them. We're not gonna go in depth with them. Then we're gonna talk about features that we moved, removed, and brought back. We, we had essentially, or at least bringing back. Have we brought back restrict transfers, or are we in the process of that, Mark?
We've brought it back. There's still a little bit of work to be done because of the fact the
All right,
QuickBooks
we'll go
bank
back.
page is a little updated.
We'll discuss that in detail when we go to that slide. But
Yeah.
we've had some requests to bring back restrict transfers, and we'll explain some of the context around that. We wanted to get rid of that fully, but seems like some people still needed that feature. So we'll discuss that, and then we'll go in depth into new and improved features that we added in RightTool free, obviously available both free and pro. There's only two features that are worth highlighting. Other than that, Mark has been working on performance tweaks and bug fixes, and like sort of keeping up with QuickBooks updates across all features, including free. So the bulk of the work, even though the new features, it seems like we did more pro features, the bulk of the work we've done in the last couple of months have been making sure that all the features across the board, including the free ones, are working with all the changes that they're making in the pages in QuickBooks Online itself. Then we're going to talk about the 4 new features that we have in Pro, and then 11 improvements that we added to existing Pro features. Some of them feel like brand new features as well. They're just not new toggles or new settings. So let's get right to it. First of all, I want to thank everybody that was following us on Facebook and logging on and voting during the ABC March Appness Tournament. We won the contest, which means that we got the most amount of votes. That's really all it means. That more people voted for RightTool versus other tools or JSON stats or any other resources. So obviously that says a lot about how tight and how united and how excited this community is to like support us in this, because now we get bragging rights for whatever that means or might mean for the next year. We can say this tournament we won, and we can call ourselves App of the Year from within the context of the people that were in that tournament. So thank you very much for that. Obviously, this is a win for everybody. All right, let's start with QuickBooks Online updates. So QuickBooks Online is making the first major set of if you're a QuickBooks Online user, you know that the reports are all changing, they're evolving, they're moving reports to modernized view. This is the very first time where they're actually announced that they're gonna they're gonna delete, kill, completely disappear from Access a set of reports. So after May 31st, the reports you see there on the slides, location list, class list, product and service list, terms list, payment method list, sales by location detail, transaction list by customer, transaction list by vendor, physical inventory worksheet, and open invoices will no longer work in classic view. Now we have loaded both the classic view of these reports and the modernized view of these reports into RightTool. So if you search any of these, you're going to see in parentheses either the word classic view or modernized to let you know which one you are pulling up. But just be warned that after May 31st, if we forget to remove them from RightTool, if you click on them, they won't work. So like my contact Intuit promised me that their goal is to delete the classic version of these reports. Now, will it happen exactly on May 31st? Maybe they'll take a couple more days. Maybe they'll just wait for more feedback. But long story short, for a period of a month, basically, from May 1st, where all these reports will now default into modernized view, to May 31st, the both reports will work, classic and modernized, and you can pull them up individually from RightTool, or when you pull the report, there should be a button on the top that says switch to classic or try modernized view. So keep in mind, this is the first major move to make changes to reports to move completely to the modernized view platform. Okay, next major update is they send us an email that on May 6th, or starting May 6th or after May 6th, all versions of QuickBooks Online, so we're talking about Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, Advanced, all versions of QuickBooks Online will no longer use the classic view or the classic layout for invoices. So all the invoices will now be under the new view. So right now is the time to give into a feedback if you're freaking out that in the next couple of weeks, pretty much, if you don't have access to the classic view, you're going to be missing some things. And we heard reports of a couple of things. One, the new invoice layout in some company files, it's like it cycles, like it never loads and it goes back to the old layout. That seems to be something that QuickBooks needs to fix, like it sort of like crashes in the middle of loading. And also a couple of modernized view reports. People are also reporting that when they change the dates or something like that, it crashes and it goes to like a gray screen of death of sorts. So I don't have answers to these two things. These are like backend QuickBooks Online things. We've tried them without RightTool, with RightTool, incognito mode, you name it. It seems like these two major pushes they're making into the new layouts of both invoices and reports might be causing some issues. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks that disappears 100%. We're hoping that's the case. The next major news is, and I've done multiple videos about this, I posted this on the Facebook group, et cetera, et cetera. QuickBooks Online now has journal entry import built in. Okay, so like I think RightTool's most popular feature, or most likely top 5 most popular features, is the ability for us to copy and paste into the journal entry. We're not getting rid of that feature. We're going to continue it. Some people prefer that workflow. Plus, we're combining that workflow with multiple features such as the reallocation tool and the new balance sheet adjuster that we're going to showcase today. So we're going to continue to use the copy and paste journal entry feature in RightTool Pro because people love that. But if for whatever reason that's not working or you don't have RightTool Pro, make sure you take advantage of the built-in journal entry feature that should be available across all versions. And there's a link on the slides to my tutorial that walks you through the whole thing. Okay, so let's talk about Google Chrome updates. And this is also going to be true for other Chromium-based browsers like Microsoft Edge or Brave or whatever browser you're using. Make sure you keep attention to whatever the indicator is that there's a pending update or a new version update. I will warn you, if your browser is pending an update, a security update, an upgrade, or whatever, if there's a button that's pending an update, extensions might not work correctly. It has to do with security. So make sure you always update your browser when it asks you to do it, especially if you're seeing that whether it's RightTool, any other extensions are starting to act up. So go through these updates. Now, people ask me all the time, how do I update my RightTool? Now, the way Google Chrome works with extensions is eventually everybody gets the update. But you could always push the update. Like if you log in right now and you don't see the latest version, which is 1.22.1, you can actually click on the 3 little dots on the top right of your browser. You can go down to where it says extensions, click on manage extensions. That's going to take you to the extensions page. And, I happen to have a whole bunch of extensions, Mark, as well, depending on the type of user you are. So you got to find RightTool's extension, and there's a little toggle there. You can turn off the extension and turn it on. But also there's the details button and the remove button. Obviously, don't click the remove button. Click on the details button. That's going to take you to like a zoomed in version of all the details having to do with your specific extension, with the RightTool extension. And you have to make sure you click on the little developer mode on the top right to enable the update button. If you don't click on developer mode, then you have to wait for Google to push the update. If you want to manually pull that update and force that update, you're going to click on developer mode, and then you're going to click on update, and then that will give you the latest version. So when you're troubleshooting some feature with RightTool, I think the first thing we want to know is, are you in the latest version? Yes. Is your browser in the latest version? Yes. Then we can go from there, because then we have a lot of challenges troubleshooting things when they're just sort of temporary updates that haven't been finishing. And I know it's kind of annoying and odd, and you want things to just work magically, but unfortunately, we are not QuickBooks. We're layering on top of QuickBooks. So, there's so many security levels in between QuickBooks and where we want to be, that we have to be all on the latest update version, unless, we can't guarantee that these things are going to work. Okay. And the last thing I recommend, very, very important, and I see Mark putting this stuff on Facebook probably on the daily. If your RightTool is acting weird, what you want to do is you want to click on the little puzzle button, on the top, little puzzle icon for the extensions. And you click on there, and all your enabled extensions are going to be listed. And you can put you can click on the little pin, on the little like push pin. And what the pin does, it adds the RightTool icon on the top right of your browser, which allows you to click on that. And we gave you two shortcuts there that are really valuable. One is reload extensions. If the extension seems to be odd or locked in, or something in RightTool is not working properly, you click on that, it'll just kind of refresh the extension. And sometimes you hear people all the time saying, clear your cache and cookies. And most people don't even know what that means, or they assume that they did. So there's a button that says clear cache that will clear your cache within the context of QuickBooks Online pages. So sometimes, again, if your extension is acting up, before freaking out, just, hey, make sure you're on the latest version of the browser, latest version of the extension. And then if it keeps acting up, reload the extension or clear the cache. And after all that, see if the features are still working. Mark, anything to add on that? I just wanted to make sure that we get that out of the way, because that's really important.
Yeah, one thing I want to add is that if you ever get to a situation in QuickBooks Online where, for whatever reason, you get a spinning green circle that just, like the first time you log in, you get a spinning green circle that just never ends, clicking this clear cache over here, where it says Control Shift and then the tilde key, that will usually fix the problem, and you don't even have to click on the RightTool icon to do it. You can just press Control Shift and I think that's tilde. Anyways, you can click on that shortcut, and it should fix the problem of the infinite loading green circle. So, just as a
Mark,
FYI.
Quick question: do you have to have RightTool keyboard shortcut enabled for that to work, or is that like above that setting?
That's a good question. I think
we'll go back and showcase that. We'll go back and showcase that to just make sure everybody know what that means. The keyboard shortcuts toggle. Generally, most of the things that we do, additional keyboard shortcuts, you have to have that feature enabled, but there might be a slim chance where
one other thing with that is there was a question about, does it clear cache for QBO only? Yes, it only clears QBO's cache. So if you're like, oh, I only want this one, I don't want to clear cache for all the other websites I have, yes, it only does it for QuickBooks's. So
it's only the intuit.com and subdomains.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So the next existing features, which we are not going to showcase, but I spent some extra time working on last night, because I had a couple of users were saying, what is this whole scripts thing? So if you are in the Facebook group, every once in a while somebody will ask for a feature, and not to back Mark up and for Mark to say yes to every single request. Sometimes I'll try to design a feature using ChatGPT. I build a script, and then we have a built-in feature inside RightTool Pro that allows you to enable like a script favorites. So whenever I say, hey, I'm going to email you a script, or I'm going to put a script on the website, all you have to do is copy and paste that script in there, and we can add additional functionality. The ultimate goal of this is so you guys can experiment and build your own scripts. Now, if you don't know any code, then you can leverage ChatGPT or other AI tools for that. So there's like a 35 or 40-minute video walkthrough where I kind of walk through people how I build scripts on my own. So if you're nerdy like me, you want to kind of experiment to that level, feel free to do so. And if you do build that awesome script, share it with us, because I can post it on the RightTool website. I'll add one more thing to that. If you actually go to righttool.app, I added a little section for scripts. So if you click on scripts, all the successful scripts that I built for people, I'm posting them here. So there's this is the description of what the script does. This is what the actual script does. So for example, if you're looking at this page and you're like, okay, that looks like an interesting script, how do I add that? So I'm just going to copy that script. So we're going to copy everything from the word JavaScript all the way to the last semicolon. We can copy that script. And then once we are in RightTool, so let me log into QuickBooks Online so we can see RightTool, and I can show you how you would copy and paste that into the script sections, and then you can test it. Now, remember, scripts only work in a very specific page, and they're made for very specific purposes. We don't plan to release official scripts. These are all sort of custom. And then the website, directory scripts are just suggestions of things that you can play with. I'm going to give you one example. that we built recently. So for example, we had a user that was that's doing multiple work. Let me just go here and pull up another sample file. It's doing multiple work where they're doing a drill down from a P&L, and they have maybe 7 or 8 different tabs open, and they're doing research. They're going across multiple tabs to do research. And the challenge with that is, I kind of want to know what these tabs are. So for some context, again, I'm looking at a P&L and I want to start sort of digging into some of these numbers. So I decided to open this one in a new tab. And then I decided to open this one in a new tab, and just kind of the people watching live, do any of you ever do this where you're looking at a P&L, open a bunch of things in different tabs, and then you get a little bit frustrated that here in the top, these all have sort of like the same name. So you want to have like your own name associated with each of these tabs. So it's an example of one of the scripts that we built. So if you actually go down here and you look at this build called rename your current tab, we're going to copy that script here, and we're going to copy that. Then we're going to go back into a QuickBooks Online. I'm going to go to scripts and then click on add script. And then I'm going to paste that script, and I'm going to call this rename current tab or something like that. So essentially, this is something that RightTool doesn't have. Okay, RightTool doesn't have this feature. We built this separately. And by the way, we might build this out later. We'll get feedback. That's the nice thing about scripts, is that I can, and any of you can develop RightTool features in tandem. And eventually, again, we've always felt RightTool is a crowdsourced tool. So anyway, so let's say, so we're going to come in here, and you have to kind of like have the script already loaded prior for it to show up in the script section. So you're going to see some with the old one that I had, or the new one, doesn't really matter. But anyway, so I say this tab, I want to call this, I'm going to call this COGS, and then press OK. And then essentially notice up top, I gave the tab a custom name. And let's say this one is actually taxes paid. So I'm going to call this taxes paid, press enter, then go to the next one. And let's say this one is commissions. I click here, commission. So if I'm sitting there and doing research with a whole bunch of tabs open, this is the nice thing that this script can do, which essentially you give each tab its own custom. And again, to do your research, you do that. And then once you hit refresh, they go back to normal. So that's an example of like how scripts can work. This was never my idea. Like I would never in a million years have imagined that we need to do our own renaming of tabs. This was a suggestion from our users. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely important that you guys are part of the Facebook group, because this is where people add all these ideas, and then we get to experiment sort of offline, add those scripts. And then as you guys give us feedback and tell us, hey, this script is awesome, this should actually be a built-in feature, then Mark will pick up the script, maybe, RightToolize it, and then load it into RightTool in one way, shape, or form. I still don't know if, like, for example, the tab renaming, if that would be useful. I would love to know in the chat, would that be useful, extremely useful, or just okay? And then, basically I'll gauge from that whether or not we should even be looking at like building this as a built-in tool. So is it useful, very useful, or just okay? All right. So, and then our part now is to think, okay, how do we add that? Like, should we go into, should we add an icon here in the top? Like, is it that useful that it warrants an icon in the best part of the real estate or RightTool, which is the search and these icons? Or should we build this into, for example, if I have tab management open, some of the things I'm kind of thinking out loud is for renaming your tabs would be like, you open up your managed tabs, and maybe in here we'll click on custom rename, and then maybe we do one at a time, or maybe we can right click in here somehow rename. We don't know what the mechanism looks like. Like every single word that comes out of my making things mean, is this the right place to put it? Is somewhere else the right place to put it? That sort of thing. So again, join the Facebook group. Make sure, that's, I want to iterate that enough. Go into Facebook, go RightTool, join the group. This is where you can join the live conversation, and you can be part of the development process. So anyway, I didn't want to go too deep into that, but I wanted to just remind you that scripts are there. and I want to see more of you nerding out and kind of like building your own scripts. Okay, last existing feature I want to discuss is the dollar amount search. This has been a pain in the butt for us to work on because, long story short, some QuickBooks files can access both the classic search and the new search. Some QuickBooks files can only access the old search, and some QuickBooks files can only access the new search. So now we're in this situation where we can't detect if you're in a situation where your QuickBooks file uses old search or new search. Okay, all right. Now what do I mean by that? So let me just go into QuickBooks here real quick and let me explain. So if I'm in this particular QuickBooks Online file and I click on the search button or the magnifying glass and then click on go to transaction search, this goes into my search. This file is defaulted to what we're calling classic search. So it's this screen, okay? Now we have a favorite here in RightTool. Like if you search for search and you click on transaction search, that link, transaction search, is supposed to take you to the new search, okay? The problem is in my specific file, it doesn't work. So what happens is it just reroutes me back to the old search. So the way we had amount search built in is we were using the new search, thinking that QuickBooks will eventually, like a year later, I don't know how long this new search, this whole like dichotomy of all the new searches have worked. We figured at some point everybody should be on the new search, but it turns out that some files are actually going backwards and not even allowing the new search. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to switch to another QuickBooks file that I have. In this particular QuickBooks file, uses new search. Okay, so I'll explain what new search looks like. So when I click on search and then go into transaction search, you're going to see the transaction looks completely different. So what we originally did with the amount search is when you type up here 500 and then press enter, we were sending everybody into this new screen. The problem is that some files don't work when they go into the new screen. So Jesus Christ, how do we fix it? So what Mark did is he went back and override it. So when you put the dollar amount and press enter, it's actually going to use the old search. Okay, so right now it should be working for most people that have the old search. Type the dollar amount there, let's say 100, and press enter, and it'll go the old search. If this is not working for you, it's because your particular file happened to have the old search disabled, and you have to use the new search. So it's temporarily not going to work until we add some sort of workaround for this. And the workaround that we're going to build, and we're still thinking exactly what that's going to look like, but we think what's going to happen is when you hit control search, we'll have it use the new search URL. So that might be active tomorrow, because we didn't think about the files that would have this problem where it won't allow the old search. So for most of you, the just putting the dollar amount and pressing enter will take you to the old search, and it should work. For the few of you which your company file has disabled old search, you have to wait until we do an update, and you would have to do control enter for those files for it to use the new search. I mean, I said the word search like 500 times in 2 minutes, I know, but it's very convoluted. So does anybody have any questions? Is that clear? Does that need clarification? Mark, any comments, anything on this, so we can move forward on the whole search thing?
Yeah, I don't think there's too many questions other than people being like, oh yeah, okay, that's why it wasn't working. Like I think it's good for people to get the explanation of that.
So now we understand what was happening. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I tell you is like, Mark and I, even though Mark's a developer, I'm not, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we're getting a sort of a doctorate on like proper software design through looking at improper software design. So like it's been very, it's been a lot of fun to watch the decisions that Intuit makes on these live files. And we could rant off for hours in terms of like the way we would do this if we were masters of time and space in the world of QuickBooks. But the big problem is that there's so many different versions of QuickBooks out there, and there's no way for you to know which version you're in. And it's always going to be a black box and a total surprise in whether you're in one version or the other. And you can go across multiple clients and you can be in multiple versions. So here we are RightTool trying to figure out how do we help people work in both worlds. Okay, modernized view, classic view, old search, new search, all that craziness. Last thing I mentioned before we get into the new features is bulk enter into register. We've added the ability to import single line journal entries. We're not seeing a lot of people using it. So we did an entirely separate tutorial that's in the slides. Check that out, because if you want to import depreciation tables, amortization tables, if you want to import a whole bunch of adjustments into any balance sheet accounts, like depreciation, loan balances, all those things are good examples, and you already have that data in a spreadsheet, you can go into the register and import all those adjustments into the balance sheet account for multiple transactions, even in the future, using this feature. So check that out. If anything that I said resonated, go check out the video. And I believe we kind of skipped over this part. We didn't cover it fully in one of our monthly or bi-monthly webinars. So I wanted to take advantage and discuss that. Okay, features that we removed from RightTool. So we were experimenting with something called fixed column width with new transaction pages. Essentially, the new bills and new checks, we're having this weird auto sizing issue when it comes to like changing the width of the fields, and we were trying to overwrite that and make it so you can fix the column width, but QBO is like I don't know, I don't even know how to even explain. It's like trying to like battle water. Like things are moving and we're doing things and things are moving. So we said, you know what, we're gonna pull this feature out, because like our feature was in some cases doing some damage and like making things even more confusing. So we're gonna wait until QBO figures out how in the world they're going to fix their field resizing. And then if we need to come in and do something, we'll do it. But right now it's just fluid and it's moving, and we can't keep up with it. So we removed our attempt to try to fix that. That's why it was in Experiments Pro, because anything in Experiments Pro is things that we're trying to figure out. And then we used to have a little refresh button for the modernized reports, like a little red refresh button. So if you don't see that anymore, it's because we don't need to have it. QuickBooks finally added a visible refresh report button into modernized reports. So we happily, excitedly remove the feature that we don't need. Every time QuickBooks fixes something that causes us to remove something in RightTool, we see it as a major win for everybody. People say, oh my God, they're copying from you. No, they're not copying from you. They're doing things they should have done in the first place. And they're basically using us as the guinea pig to prove, that this is the stuff that the community wants. The good news is that it feels like every time QuickBooks fixes something, we have 3 more things for us to fix. So it's like, we're going to have job security for the rest of our lives, fortunately and unfortunately. So every single time that QuickBooks adds something that's a net win, we'll remove it from RightTool happily. Might be an exception to the rule, which is the concept of restrict transfers. A feature that we highlighted last month called reallocate from reports via journal entry has been graduated from experiments to Batch Pro. It's an official feature. We're still adding updates to it, but we think it's stable enough that it's no longer an experiment. This is probably one of the most powerful features that we've added forever, from the perspective of the amount of, like, maybe 1% of RightTool users will use it, but for that 1%, it could mean 10, 20, 30 hours of savings per month. We're already getting emails and DMs from people literally saying, you saved me 20 hours, you saved me 30 hours with this feature. So if you don't do reallocation from unclassified classes or overhead classes or locations or jobs, if you don't do that type of work, then it means nothing to you. But if you do that type of work, that's hours and hours to set up, and we do it like within minutes pretty much. And the feature that we're bringing back is restrict transfers. So a couple of months ago, we added restrict transfers to disallow the user from creating a transfer transaction from bank feeds. Now, a couple of weeks ago, QBO announced that they're fixing, quote unquote, the whole transfer situation. There's some reports of some transfers still happening, some suggested transfers into bank feeds. People are emailing me those. I'm reporting those into it, and people from QuickBooks engineering team are fixing those one-offs. But some people are reporting back to us that they do not want to see even the paired transfers, okay? Because they want to see a full transaction so they can add classes, locations, other information, and they want to avoid using a transfer transaction altogether. So we're bringing back restrict transfers specifically so people can override not accepting paired transfers as a default. That's what we're working through. It's not perfect. Like we're literally like, again, trying to fight with water here. You know, we're trying to catch up with what QuickBooks does. So there might be a few tweaks coming on in the next couple of days or weeks. Mark, any notes on that? So let's go deep into like what's going on with restrict transfers.
Yeah, there's really just two fronts that I need to work on, which is one, just making it more flexible, making it so you have more options in terms of how you restrict and what you restrict. And the second thing is just that there's like 4 different versions of the bank feed currently out in the world. It's the only page in which there's literally 4 different versions, and so it's kind of like a fun time figuring that out. But for the most part, it's fun. I'm not going to complain too much about it. At least they're trying.
Yeah, so something worth throwing out there. One of the versions of bank feeds actually has the ability for you to add a product or service into your expenses. That's huge. I mean, that's monumentally huge. So when that goes into mainstream, people are going to absolutely love that, and it almost like makes it worth it, kind of, to have multiple versions of bank feeds out there, because essentially everybody with, I believe, QBO Plus or Advanced will be able to add products and services from bank feeds instead of an account. So that's going to be awesome, but that's not available for everyone. We're already getting a couple of pictures and stuff in social media, people saying, wow, I got this in this file, and so and so. So
I'm
there's
very
kind
excited
of
for that.
yeah, very excited. And there's you're probably saying that sarcastic. There's more things.
Well, no, I'm being very serious. One of the things people love to ask for is the ability to put products and services in the bank feed, and it's always sad to me that I can't be like, yes, we can do that. So the fact that they now have that, or they're adding that to the bank feed, makes me very happy. And who knows, maybe there'll be a feature in the future that we make based on that.
Right.
That would be really cool.
Maybe we can add to that. Who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's where we are with good old trusty bank feeds. All right. So let's talk about new features. Thank you for indulging 37 minutes of like, just kind of like walking you through where we are now. Since it's after tax season, we can stop and think a little bit and chat a little bit more. Let's talk about the new and improved features. So let's start with open new tabs in the bill pay screen. So I'm going to load that up, and then Mark, maybe you want to set this up really quick. Should be self-explanatory, but if you want to set this up real quick while I load up.
Which feature is this that we're working on right now? Sorry.
Open new tabs in bill pay.
Oh yeah. So in general, we are big fans of opening things in new tabs. That's one of the things that people like. It's one of the more subtle things that people like about RightTool. And one thing that somebody mentioned is that when they are clicking inside of like the pay bills, they would like it to open up in a new tab so that they can see more info on it without losing their place currently in the page. So we've added a feature to make it so that should open up in a new page. We'll see if this looks like a new version of pay bills. So we're going to see if this works the way that I'm hoping it will right here. It might be that we have to.
Yeah, I haven't enabled it yet. What they did now is that Intuit realized that people were getting frustrated. So now they add a pop-up saying that clicking on anything will make you leave this page, basically lose your work. So if you've been adding, payments and adjusting amounts or whatever, if you click on anything, it will lose your work. So if you click on yes, it will take you out of the page and you will lose your work. And that's essentially what we try to fix. So what we're fixing is you click on this little feature called Open New Tabs from Pay Bills. And once you turn that on, similar to what we did with deposits, similar situation. So when you are in the Pay Bill screen and you have a whole bunch of things checked, maybe you have some things partially adjusted here, okay? And if you click on any transaction, it's actually going to give you a warning that says it will leave you. But even if you click on yes, we'll open the new tab and not lose your progress on the original tab. So now I have my original pay bills tab, and I have the specific bill that I clicked on. Simple, elegant. It's amazing how many things we have fixed just with new tabs. Like the whole new tab thing, like just tab management in general, has been something that makes RightTool. And this is free, by the way. So like we're going to continue to make all the like new tab management stuff free, and then all the batch stuff is going to start. We're going to start moving more features that are currently free into pro. If they're more batch in general, where they take multiple steps, we're going to start migrating some of the things to pro, and then we're going to leave generally anything that has to do with tab management. We're going to leave it in free. That's kind of the philosophy when we start thinking about do we do something for free or for pro? So new tabs in bill pay is part of the free features. The next one is we added a quick improvement to reports preset, which is sort a date by ascending. So we got some reports from people that when they open up a profit and loss report, for example, and they go deep into a transaction, that sometimes these transactions are sorted in a very specific way. So with this feature, and I believe I haven't tested this one, so
reports, yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. All right, so I'm going to turn on report preset button, and then this one at the bottom called preset sort date ascending. Was it ascending or descending? I wonder what we.
I think it's ascending. It's at the very bottom. It should be.
Yeah. Okay. So let's save that, and then we'll go back into our P&L report. Where are we with our P&L report? We have a couple of tabs open, so those things are loading. So when I click here where it says run preset, what it should do is should overwrite and resort the transactions by ascending. Now, I don't really know in what situation you're getting the opposite, where you're getting the transactions in
I think it
descending
was
order.
that the reports preset by default, and I don't know why this was the way, but it is what it is.
Right.
I think the reports preset by default did it the opposite way.
Yeah. So
I don't know what that's about.
Essentially, long story short, if your detailed reports are not sorting transactions by date in ascending order, just clicking run presets when you have that set up will do that for you automatically. So again, I don't really know what situation. This was a very specific request from one of the users. So we'll see what people start telling us as they start testing this. All right, let's go through Pro. So those are the two things that were related to free. Now everything is going to be related to the Pro version. And I got to tell you something. If you have not upgraded to Pro yet, if you haven't found the reason, these features have to be the one. Like this has to be the time where you go, yeah, this is it. I'm sold. I got to go to Pro. Okay. So let's go through them. The first one is called the balance sheet adjustment tool. I've been working on this one for a couple of months. This is one that I started building in ChatGPT and had kind of half butchered the code, send it to Mark, and Mark started working through it. And I think we have a pretty good fully functional feature. So get ready. Hold on to whatever stuff you hold on to when new things come along and potentially blow your mind. So I'm going to click on the settings here. I'm going to go into Experiments Pro, and then I'm going to turn on balance sheet adjustment tool. Notice it says early beta. You're the first ones to see this thing in action, and we are going to ask for your feedback. Okay. One thing I do recommend is, because this is actually a two-part process. One is to figure out what the journal entry needs to look like for you to adjust the balance sheet. And the second one is you need to paste it into a journal entry. So we're also going to turn on copy Excel to transactions. So it's basically going to be two tools showcased in tandem. Okay. So I'm looking at my balance sheet report, and let's say I'm going to look at last year's, and then the specific situations in which you would use this. I'm just going to paint the picture for you. You're working with a brand new QuickBooks file, a brand new client that has a messed up balance sheet, let's say for last year, and you want just like to match this balance sheet with the tax return, for example. So you know exactly what every one of these values is supposed to be, and you have to sit there manually and figure out what's the difference that you have to put for each one in order to get to back the balance sheet up to a desired specific amount. So what I mean by that is I'm looking at last year's balance sheet and I want to adjust some of these numbers. So for example, I'm going to click on adjust. The minute I click on adjust, two things happen. One, all the numbers become editable. Okay. Essentially, it's a little editable box. Now remember, in QuickBooks, you can't just edit balance sheet. So you're editing it on the screen for the purposes of building a journal entry. You can't just edit and magically fixes it. You have to build a journal entry and you have to make a decision in terms of what that balancing entry is. So that's another piece of information that we're going to have to figure out what the next step is. So we're going to come in here and we're going to change some of these numbers. Okay. And again, maybe I'm following a tax return. Maybe I'm following an audited financial statement, whatever it is. So I'm going to make an adjustment to each of these lines. And immediately as I make these adjustments, you get a little note here letting you know kind of letting you know what is happening. So to adjust this, you have to do a credit for this amount. To adjust this, you got to do a debit for this amount. So it literally is just kind of walking you through what that journal entry is going to look like. Here on the left-hand side, you get basically a track that tells you, okay, these are all the things that you're debiting. These are all the things that you're crediting. And this is what the balancing entry will look like. So you kind of get a live preview of what that adjustment to retained earnings or whatever balance sheet, I mean, P&L account you want to adjust, sales, COGS, whatever you want to do. So you get a live preview of what that last line will look like. Okay. Now you got a couple things to do. So one is you can export the adjustment journal. So you just click on export and it just simply just exports a CSV file. You can open the CSV file in Excel. You have the choice of making changes, adding notes, whatever you want to do this before importing it. But it basically, it is a worksheet. It lets you know, this is what the journal entry would look like if you wanted to back into these numbers in the balance sheet. So there's basically the journal entries preset for you. And we also added notes that were adjusted to X from X based on this date balance sheet on this date. So it gives you a really good idea to like, okay, when I made this adjustment. Of course, if you want to add the reasons for that adjustment, you can add those additional notes in your spreadsheet prior to importing. Okay. We also added, in some cases, you want to maybe copy and paste this into Google Sheets. So you don't want to like export it to CSV. So you can just click on copy to clipboard, and then you can open your Google Sheets. Okay, you open a brand new Google Sheets file, and you can paste in here. So that'll be option number 2. So one, I export it to Excel. 2, I copy to clipboard so I can paste into this. Let's go back to here. Give me a second. Forgot which tab I'm on. Right here. So the other option we have is called Open Journal Entry Page in New Tab. So what Open Journal Entry Page in New Tab does 2 things. 1, it copies to the clipboard, and 2, it opens up the journal entry on a new tab, so you can go in there and like paste, the journal in there. But that's really, really cool. And this is like a last minute thing that Mark did like at 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday. Additional text memo. So I'm gonna put here matching 2023 tax return from CPA firm emailed on whatever, April 16th, 2024. Okay, so I'm going to put here Hector or something like that. So I can add some additional notes to automatically append to my journal entry. So I'm going to click on Open Journal Entry Page in New Tab. And again, in a RightTool fashion, we'll open up the journal entry in a new page. If you have the copy and paste feature turned on, that's why I kind of prefaced that we're going to turn that on. You could click on Paste from Excel, and then it's going to go. It's to a cycle to check all the accounts and all the lines, and then you simply just paste because you already copied the journal entry to the clipboard, and it builds the journal entry for you. Okay.
Yeah. And so to be clear, you do need to press copy to clipboard first. Like you'll notice that the description here doesn't have the things that you added. If you want to, you copy a clipboard again, if you want that extra appended stuff on the middle.
Yeah. So yeah. So good. Yeah. Good addition to that. So I went back and I pasted. So we have the addition. So we have our original note, which is adjust to X from Y based on this report on this date, and then the additional manual notes, that way you don't have to go in there and add those things manually. So you're going to click on paste into QuickBooks, and we made the decision to bring the last line into retained earnings. You can make this change. Like if you don't have to affect retained earnings. I know people freak out about touching retained earnings. So just go in there and change what the last account is. I was thinking that, you pick which account it is. I think it's better we just throw it into retained earnings and done. And then you choose to change that right at this point where you do the journal entry. If you don't have retained earnings, I know some nonprofits don't do retained earnings, then it's just going to post a blank in there because there's no retained earnings. And then you have to decide which account you want to use. Again, your retained earnings account might not be called retained earnings. It might have something else. Now, this is only for balance sheet. Okay, we're doing this for balance sheet only. We're going to test this heavily on the balance sheet. And then as we get more feedback, we'll consider bringing this into a P&L or bringing it into trial balance, which might be better than P&L. Trial balance might be more complete. Trial balance is slightly more complex because it's got two fields, debits and credits, and we have to like figure out which we're going to edit, or maybe we add an extra column. Like that's like a future Hector, future market are going to have to worry about what this will work on a trial balance. But for most people are going to be focused on the balance sheet, which is really what the world tells me is needed. And like as a 15 years doing QuickBooks work, this is the very first step on every cleanup job is I got to get the balance sheet to match the tax return. That's like the very first thing. I'm going to add a couple of notes here, and this is partially sort of like tips / programming notes. If the account has been deleted and is showed in there, remember, deleted accounts cannot be used in a journal entry. So you got to go back and re-enable or undelete, make active those accounts, period. That's something you have to fix before. Like, so if you're like halfway through this, so the first thing I will ask you to do is before you do this, do a Control F, type the word deleted, and find out if there's any deleted accounts showing here. Because if any accounts are showing deleted, you're going to be halfway through doing this, and then you realize that you can't paste a deleted account in there. So first go to the process. Hey, do I need to adjust any deleted accounts? So do that first. Second is if the account doesn't have any activity, it's not going to show up on your balance sheet immediately, but you might need to adjust an account that hasn't been used that is in your chart of accounts. So to get that to work, you got to click here, this active rows and active columns, click on all and click on run report. So all the accounts show up. Now, programmatically, we can't find these fields that don't contain numbers. So if you actually use the adjustment tool, you notice that the ones that don't contain numbers are going to have blanks. So that's kind of a half programming issue, half the way the report is built. So the way you can fix that is to click on customize, uncheck accept zero amount. Essentially, you don't want to see any blanks. You have to see a zero. Click on run report, and now all the ones that had blanks will have zero. So now when you click on adjust, those are editable as well. So Mark, I didn't even tell you about that. This is like me just playing with it, and somehow I found that magically this workaround works. So so good news.
Good news. One more thing on that as well is make sure you have negatives turned on to be with the negative sign. We will see what we can do.
Right, no parentheses. Yeah.
Parentheses.
Okay.
It's not that we can't fix it. It's just that I got to figure out how I'm going to fix that.
Right. Like I would say between figuring that out and maybe doing trial balance, I'll probably focus more on trial balance or getting some of the feedback. One user that was beta testing this told me that they didn't want to see one adjusting entry on the bottom, that they wanted to see an adjusting entry under each individual line so they can make a decision on how to adjust each thing. Note taken. Thank you for the note on that. We'll figure out if that could be an option. Maybe we'll put a check mark that says, make multiple adjustments. It's just everything's going to say written earnings, every other line. It just might get messy. Again, this nice thing about building something for users and not for ourselves, our users will be telling us basically what they want. So again, your feedback is extremely important when it comes to that. Okay, we're almost done, and we have so many other things to showcase. So what I'll do is I'll fully, in case we go a little long, I'll fully showcase the next 4, and then we'll just mention the improvements without specifically showcasing the improvements. And then obviously I'll let you do the improvements on your own. Some people only budget an hour for these things, but you should have budgeted more time since it's so many things. Okay, open register from reports. This is one. Another one that started as me playing with ChatGPT. Is that on Accountant Pro? Yes, it is. Okay, so this one's called right click to open register from balance sheet. Okay, we initially had it built in with right click to classify, but I think it's better for us to keep it as 2 separate ones. This is very cool because sometimes you don't want to drill down into a particular balance sheet account as a report. You just want to go into the register. It's a very common thing that people want. So we'll go here. I'm going to pull up a balance sheet. Okay, and let's say I want to go into this register. So I'm gonna,
Are you just being a goofy on me here?
okay, yeah. So I'm gonna right click on the dollar amount, okay? Because the dollar amount generally would take you to a report. So instead of clicking it, I'm gonna right click on it. Then I'm gonna go to RightTool for QuickBooks Online. Is one of the options in the right click menu.
Oh, interesting.
And then we're going to click on open QBO open register. So as we add more right click features, this might go into a sub menu. We're trying to figure out if we can just have it by itself. We're still working through that, but this just kind of tells you really quick how you can do that, and you go straight into the register. Otherwise, if you didn't have that and you just clicked on that, it takes you to the drill down report to the register. Then you have to figure out what the name of the register is, go to register. So this is very cool. It saves you a couple of clicks. I think a lot of people are going to. So again, we're going to right click on any of the accounts, click on RightTool for QuickBooks Online, which is the name of the app. And then we click on open QBO register. And as a reminder, this started from right clicking to go into reclassify. That was the original version of the first right click. Now we can go straight into that. And understand that this won't work from the P&L because there's no registers for a P&L account. So it's only a balance sheet type issue. And of course, if you have reclassify, like the batch reclassify, batch edit features turned on, you can do some of the cleanup from here. So we're giving you, depending on your workflow, we're giving you all sorts of ways that you can, essentially, this is a really strong cleanup tool. The next one's called Deposit Sticky Footer. To be honest with you, I'm not a fan of the name. I'm actually part.
Oh, we changed the name.
Okay.
That's my bad. Yeah.
Okay. What was the name? Okay. So this was yeah. Okay. So now it's called Bank Deposit Selected Totals on Sticky Header. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that name better. Okay. Okay. So let me just I think let me copy here the name. I'm just going to update the slides real quick. Some people like to save their slides, print them, whatever. So let me just fix the slides here. Okay. So believe it or not, sometimes Mark's hardest work is to name these things. He's brilliant at coding, but sometimes Mark tells me, I don't know how to name these things. So that's like where most of our brain power really goes into naming these things. So it's called Selected Totals on Sticky Header. So when you go in and when you have this feature turned on and you go into a deposit, and you kind of have to have gone through like this pain to understand. Essentially, as you select transactions here in the top, you can see that there's a total. Beautiful. Here's in the bottom, there's a total. Problem is, if I'm somewhere in the middle, I don't know what the total is. And as I click more things, I don't know if I'm getting closer or farther to the total amount that I was looking for. So when we turn this on, okay, I'm going to save and refresh. When we turn this on, what's going to change is that information that's in the bottom in the footer, which is the total amount. And also, we also added total amount of transactions. Once we do that, once you turn that on, you're going to have a fixed header in the top that keeps track of that stuff. So let me close the other tab so this loads a little faster. And we'll go into let's go into a deposit. So we go into bake deposit. Okay, I'm going to select a couple of transactions. Hold on, let me turn that on again. I'm going to turn them all on again because I was having.
Dang it! I could have sworn. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. We have we have some issues getting that feature to work if we don't have more features turned on. But for now, I'm just going to turn on all the deposit features so you can see it. So let me make sure I save this. Okay. Just give it a second. Go back into the deposits. Refresh one more time.
Yeah, I think it should be fine. You just have to select something first, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, they're not turned on yet.
Dang it. It must be something I probably broke something while I was trying to fix something else. That's okay. Well, there'll be a version 22.2 then.
Yeah, we'll still, we might be okay. Because I could do is I could open up, give me a second. Just don't look at the what's the Wizard of Oz, the head behind the, what's it called?
The person
You
behind
don't
the
look
curtain.
behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't look at the person behind the curtain. So I'm gonna load up the version before you made the final update, which I think didn't have this issue. So I'm just gonna go back into bank deposit here. And yeah, but in the latest update that Mark will upload, you should have this functional. Yeah, it must have been something you tweaked that turned off that. Okay. So essentially what happens is as I select transactions, okay, notice that here in the top, it says 5 selected and the total. So even if I'm not scroll all the way up or all the way down, we can see that. And then in combination, if you kind of think about it, in combination, if I go back into the settings, and I think it's tab management, there's a feature called deposit in new tabs. So if you actually think about that in combination, sometimes similar to pay bills, we're like selecting things and all of a sudden we see a transaction. We're like, I'm not sure if this is the one. And we want to click on that. If you have the new tab open, then you don't kind of lose your, you don't lose where you are. And this is the net amount. So this is both positives and minus. And this is the same dollar amount you would see up here and the same dollar amount you would see down there. Okay. So we just have to figure out, if we have to tweak something. There might be different versions of the deposit window also causing a feature not to show up. But that's that one. And then the last one is batch change project status. This actually is pretty neat, pretty nifty. I believe somebody in the Facebook group requested this maybe like a week ago. So I'm going to turn that on. So this is under, I believe, under batch or under there right here. So it's called batch change project status. So specifically for people cleaning up like a lot of projects, sometimes you'll go in there and have a lot of projects, and maybe these projects are all completed or canceled or not started, whatever, and you want to like batch change all of them. So let's say I want to mark them as completed. I just click there on mark as completed, click on change all, click OK, and the thing will go through and complete all of them. So obviously, if I go here to complete it, only show up as completed. And then the opposite is true. If I want to make them all work in progress or not started, click on change all and do it for all. Of course, you might come into a situation where you're like, you know what, there's only some that I want to do this for, not all of them. So that, but for now, if you need to mark everything completed or mark everything uncompleted, whatever it is, you can do that. So that's what that feature will do. Okay. So without making the webinar much longer, I just want to walk through and comment all the improved features. Mark, anything to add on the projects stuff?
I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah, I think you got it covered.
Okay, so let's go through the things that we have improved, worth noting. So reallocate reports from journal entry used to be P&L only. We had popular demand to add balance sheet also. So now you can do reallocation from the balance sheet. We should probably showcase this, maybe not go deep into it, but at least quickly show this. So this was called reallocate reports via journal entry. That's what it's called. It's under Batch Pro. And if we are on a balance sheet, okay, so we are on a balance sheet, okay, and we started this as a P&L only. If you're looking at a balance sheet by location, for example, probably the best example to use. So we run balance sheet by location. We might have, for XYZ reason, things not specified, and we want to send it back to a particular location. So we're going to click on reallocate. And again, we already showcased this last month in depth for the P&L side. So basically, you're going to have this pop-up, and you get to choose where you want to reallocate from. So you can either reallocate from some admin class or location or project, or you can reallocate from not specified. Okay. So we're going to bring it from not specified, and then I can pick the specific accounts that I want to do adjustments for. You don't have to do all of them. You can do maybe just some of them. Okay. Then you click on next, and then it tells you how you want to reallocate this back to the other classes. So you can do a couple of things. One, you can click on split evenly, and let's say I believe 16 classes, it's going evenly across 16 classes. Or what I could also do, I can reset and I can delete the ones that I don't want to reallocate to, and then it only leaves a couple left. Then I can click split evenly, and it'll split across the classes that are left. Or I can do proportionally based on current assets, which might not make much sense. It makes a lot more sense on the P&L side to do proportionally based on sales and that sort of thing. But also, we have some feedback that people tell me, no, I have a specific allocation system that I use. So you can export a template, and let me show you what that looks like. So let's say I have a little template here that shows me what I have now. And I can say, look, this one's going to be 20%. This is going to be 30%. This is 15. This is 5, 15, 5, and 40. Let's just assume this gets me to 100. No, so there's 10 here at the end. So I can have my own template of a percentage and location. Here it says class, we just got to fix that, but that really meant location. So we'll save that. Okay, and then we can just go to choose file and load our own pre-allocation template. We have some people telling us, I have my own pre-allocation template based on FTE. I have my own pre-allocation template based on how the grant works, a bunch of stuff, right? So again, you can do this for classes, locations, and customer projects. Those are the 3 things that you can reallocate with. So we added that recently, exporting a little template and then importing your own allocations. And then you go to copy clipboard, and same thing as the balance sheet adjuster, you'll open up the journal entry, and then you can paste the journal entry in it. Of course, these journal entries are typically very, very preview how many lines that journal entry will be. Not that it matters, mostly is so you can be impressed by how much time you're saving probably. But some of these could be 500 lines worth of journal entries. And sometimes people kind of want to know how big the journal entry is going to be before they start the work and go, you know what? I might not have the time to go through 500 journal entries, even though I'm doing copy and paste. I just want to make sure that it's right. So this gives you a quick preview of how big that journal entry would look like. Okay, so that's the only one I'll really like sort of like showcase. Again, so I don't want to go way past the time. We added batch delete in search. So if you go into RightTool search and type search recent bills, search recent invoices, search recent purchase orders. If you do all the search recent, you can turn on this feature and you can batch delete transactions from there. I think we can do bills, invoices, purchase orders, expenses, right? We can do all the checks. We can do all those things, right? Batch delete from there. So it's not just limited to batch deleting from a specific register. We can just batch delete from the search screen. That could be useful too. Batch delete is what people tell us is the most important thing in all the RightTool history. So we talked about bulk creating the register. Now it allowing to do journal entries. We also added this nifty little thing that if you're importing checks that you don't want to print, you don't want to import the check number. You want to just import the checks and then print them. You can put in the check number. You can type the word to print, and as you import the check numbers in your register, then you can go into your standard printing process, print them, and then QuickBooks will add the numbers for you afterwards using the check printing workflow. Mark, any notes on that, or did I explain that correctly?
Honest to God, I was answering things.
Okay, no problem. I was just talking about I was talking about adding print to the import when you're importing checks.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let's see here. Oh yeah, exactly. To print. Yeah, you literally just type in to print and it will put it into the to be printed thing, which I really think is is nifty. Yep. Just because I didn't think it would be possible, to be honest.
Right. We also have in most transactions, I believe, with the exception of the new invoices, we have a sort transactions column. So if you want to sort by items by alphabetical, or a memo by alphabetical, or by quantity, or by dollar amount, you can sort by any of these columns. Sometimes people want to sort inside transactions. So after you added every line, you can sort. We also added a nifty, wait, hold on, go back for a second. And then in copy Excel to transactions, we added that, the little button, we added a shortcut, Control-Shift-J. Sometimes that shortcut gets hidden by the feedback button. So to avoid like you not being able to click on the paste Excel, you can just hit Control-Shift-J to enable the paste in there. We can't unsort. A good question, Elizabeth. After you sort, can you unsort? You can't unsort, but then what you need to do is not save. So if you already have it saved and then you sort, just not save or revert back. But we won't remember how it was originally. So once you sort, it's done, it's sorted. Okay. You have to do manual. You would have to do manual sorting. Where are we here? Okay. Next one is bank rules page enhancement. Oh, God, I feel like I want to showcase this one. Yeah, I'll showcase this, but this is actually one that I really like. It's here under, I believe it's bank automation, and it's called or is it under?
It's probably, it might be an Accountant Pro. Yeah, it's just look up rules.
Yeah, bank rules. Yeah, so like Accountant Pro. Sorry. So when you go to Accountant Pro, it's called Bank Rules Page Enhancements. That feature already had existed, but we added one little Easter egg. Okay, it's a really cool Easter egg, and it could be useful to some people. So when you go into doing rules, and you go into rules, okay, sometimes you want to make a particular rule be the one all the way in the top, or a particular rule being all the way in the bottom. You know how you're editing something in Word or PowerPoint, and you right click on an item and say send to back or send to front. So it's kind of a pain, especially when you have a very very long list of rules. Like in this case, I only have 8. You have to click on one of these, click and drag and hold all the way down, or click and drag and hold all the way up, especially when it's multi-pages. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So we added this little thing here where if you click on the little actions button, you can move to first or move to last. So if you have a particular rule that you want it to be the last rule, you click on move to last and it'll batch move it to the bottom. Or if you have a rule here towards the bottom that you want to move, let me on Zoom here, and you want to move it to the top, you click on move to first and it pushes that rule up. And there's all sorts of applications, and maybe I'll do an entire webinar on bank rules and hacks when it comes to those, working with bank rules. But I know all the time I need to push things to the top or to the bottom because I'm shifting priorities around. So I promise you that's the last one I'll showcase. The next one is, I think someone in the Facebook group told us that the bulk change customer projects in lines was missing a date column. So we added a date column. We added an inventory quantity adjustments enhancements. That's actually really, really neat. When you go in and do a quantity adjustment, the nerdy person inside of me doesn't allow me not to showcase these things. So let me go into inventory. I'm going to go inventory quantity adjustment. One of the things that's such a pain in the butt from this screen is that, like, if I want to adjust a bunch of things, I have to go into one, select it, go into one, select it, go into one, select it. Like, to me, that's a major design flaw, like to have, like, there's no select all button in this screen. It just drives me crazy. So what we've done is, let's go into maybe Accountant Pro. Let me type it, or maybe Batch Pro.
Yeah, probably is in Batch Pro.
Yeah. All right. So here it's called inventory quantity adjustments enhancements. Okay. And this is really cool. And we already had sort of a version of this, but we added a whole bunch of really useful tools when it comes to adjusting inventory. These are kind of the things that you get in Enterprise that you wish this would have. So the first one is simple. You just click on add all active items. And essentially all you're doing is cycling through and choosing all your items, and it's just going to load them in there for you. Okay. So
of course it doesn't want to do it the one time we're showing it, huh? Okay, fair enough. Okay, there we go.
Here it is. Here it is. Okay. So you click on that, it basically goes into your list and loads all the items for you. So every single active inventory item, so it sort of pre-populates that for you. Second, if you have any negatives, I can click on where it says, well, first of all, I can only add the negatives. So if I only wanted to, so sorry, the first button adds all of them. The third button here only adds the negatives, and then the third one adds the active non-zero. So depending on where you are, so let me just adjust it. I'm going to adjust a couple here. Okay. So I'm gonna adjust a couple really quick just to kind of show you. Okay, so I'm gonna make an inventory adjustment. Now I'm gonna have all sorts of numbers. So I'm gonna do a new one. Okay, and then I'm gonna refresh the screen. And then so I have a couple of choices. So one is only add the negatives. So I click on add active negatives. It'll go through the list and only show you your negatives. Okay, that way you can just adjust your negatives. Or I can click on add active non-zero, and it will only add the ones that have an amount. Okay, so the ones that, so you can either choose only show negatives, only show the ones with amount, or all of them. But the coolest one is this one that says make all zero. If you want it to like zero inventory, click on make all zero. It'll make everything 0 and 1 shot. Click save and close. I just immediately make my inventory 0. Now there's all sorts of repercussions and reasons why you would want to do that or not do that. It's a different conversation. But if you want to make adjustments to inventory, you can do it just like that. And then, okay, I promise you, that's the last one I showcase. All right, then we have books review. Now there's a little link all the way in the bottom that allows you to scroll back to the page. Apparently some users, when they're using the books review, they're clicking on things, but then they have to go back to the top of the page to click on something else. And honestly, I'm not sure the use case. I don't use books review that much. We also added in the enhanced new transactions. So when you are in the reconcile page and you want to create a check or a deposit or an expense from the reconcile page, you click on that button. It's the new transaction button. It opens up the transaction in a new tab, but we override the date and pick the same date as the ending date of that statement. So because we assume that if you're going to create a transaction from reconcile, you probably want to date that transaction within the range of that reconcile. So we just override the date, and then so it doesn't use today's date. Okay. And then the last thing we added was a clear 0 lines button. So we added a button to most transactions. I believe it's all but the new invoices again, where all the way in the bottom, you can click on clear 0 lines and it'll delete every line item that has 0 quantity. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I'll give you the last notes. Mark, if you want to say anything or answer anything out loud. Last thing I'll ask you to do, join the Facebook group. Just search for RightTool. Join the Facebook group. This is where you give us feedback. This is where we build things for you. And of course, search the RightTool YouTube channel because this is the fastest way to know what new features are available, because we're forced to create a video for our help file. So we have to publish the video first and then release RightTool. So you'll know probably hours, sometimes a day before the newest version of RightTool comes out, what's coming out. Like we had somebody text me like at 3 o'clock in the morning when they saw the balance sheet adjustment and go, holy crap, that's incredible. How do I get that? I said, wait a couple hours. Okay, so definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel so you know exactly what's happening with new features. Go into the Facebook group so you can give us live feedback of things that are broken, things that need to be fixed. And the link of the slides are in the chat if you need to access any of the things that we have access. And with that, sorry for the overtime. I'll let you guys be. Mark, you get the last word.
No, it's just thank you everybody who showed up, and also thank you to everybody who stayed on this late. It is exciting for us. The webinars are always great. And we really appreciate the chance to show everybody everything. We get a little overexcited sometimes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you in the next one.